Welcome. Today we are going to examine the meaning of a number raised to the 0th power. Okay, the Unbounded book provides a lesson that kind of goes along with this. I'm not a huge fan of it, so instead I'm going to show you kind of two different ways at least to think about what the 0th power means. So that's again raising something to the 0th power. Okay, so I'm going to do it over here to the side. So one way we can kind of think about this is how do we even create, how do we create a meaning for 0th power? Well, one way we can do that is by using our properties right here. So for example, we know that if we have like 2 to the 5th, right, and we divide by 2 to the 5th, that's the same thing as 2 to the 5 minus 5, or 2 to the 0, right? So if we can evaluate this value, we can then figure out what 2 to the 0 equals, right? So what is 2 to the 5th divided by 2 to the 5th? Well, keep in mind that this is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 5 times, right? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 5 times, if we expand it out. Now, how do we simplify this? Well, like any other fraction, 2's can cancel, 2's can cancel, 2's, 2's, and 2's can cancel. So everything cancels. What's left? Well, some folks might say 0, but remember we're dividing here. What do you get when you divide 2 by 2? You get a 1. 2 divided by 2, a 1. 1, a 1, and a 1, right? All these are 1s. So what's 1 times 1 times 1 times 1? It's just 1. So in other words, what does 2 to the 0 equal? 1. Okay, is that true for other things? Let's try with a variable. Let's say, for example, that we've got the variable x. And let's do like x to the 4th. Okay, again, we'll set it up here so that when we do x to the 4th divided by x to the 4th, we'll get x to the 4 minus 4, which is equal to x to the 0. Well, again, let's rewrite this. X times x times x times x over x times x times x times x. And look at what happens again. Cancel, 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 cancel. We get 1. So in other words, x to the 0 is 1. Just like 2 to the 0. Okay. So in general, that is going to be the value of something raised to the 0th power. Now there is an exception here. For example, 0 to the 0th power, we don't have the same kind of meaning. This is actually called an indeterminate form. It's hard to determine exactly what that equals based on the situation there. On the one hand, it's 0, right? So 0 to an exponent, we would expect to just be 0 because 0 multiplied with itself is 0, But on the other hand, it's raised to the 0th power, which in other cases, every other case, right, it's a 1. So it's kind of hard to determine. This is indeterminate form. Okay, you won't see a whole lot of that. That shows up in other mathematics, typically. Likewise, we also, no likewise. That's all I wanted to say with that. Okay, so we just don't want we don't want the base to be 0 there. Okay, 0 to the 0 does not necessarily equal 1. Another argument that you can make to show that something to the 0th power is 1 is by using patterns too. This will be helpful in later lessons when we talk about negative exponents. So for example, I'll go back to 2 here. Let's again just kind of like follow. Let's say we have like 2 to the 4th, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, or which we know furthermore is 16. Okay, and let's do like 2 to the 3rd. That's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And I'll do 2 squared. 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. And 2 to the 1, or just 2, which is a2, gives us 2. And now we know we can fill in 2 to the 0, right, which is like, well, I can't really put a number here, so we'll just say 1. Okay, and you see a pattern here, right? Every time we decrease our exponent by 1, okay, what happens to our final value? To go from 16 to 8, what do we have to do? Well, you could say subtract 8, but then that doesn't happen here, right? So it's not subtracting 8 every time. That won't work for all this. Instead, though, what could we do? Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. So then what about something like 2 to the negative 1? Well, let's follow the pattern here. What's 1 divided by 2? 1 over 2. Or you could also think 1 over 2 to the 1. What about 2 to the negative 2? Well, divide 1/2 by 2, and you get 1/4. Or 1 over 2 to the second. Aha. We'll see this show up in a later lesson. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.